Yo, what's up my brother, what's up my sister? This is your boy Ntege again with yet another amazing video. This one today is a beginner's guide on how to edit fashion portraits. Let me say this again. This video is about editing and retouching fashion portraits for beginners. I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to edit fashion portraits from start to finish. Okay, this is going to include us loading a picture into Photoshop all the way to the end of how to save the picture in Photoshop. I've put timestamps in the description below. Just click to a particular stage that resonates with you, and of course watch that particular step. And if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, of course click the first link in the description below. I'll be super grateful. And don't forget to leave comments below. If something resonates with you, say, Oscar, I think I love this. And if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, come on, take a minute, subscribe. Let me give you a moment. Done? You're awesome. Okay, now let's dive into this. Now, this is the picture we're going to edit here. This particular image was taken by a photographer friend of mine. His name is Derrick of Dreamax Photography. Yeah, he sent it to me and he wanted to get a vibe, a touch of how I would really retouch this particular image. It is really a very well high resolution image. When you look at it, it has all the details. It has these beautiful skin textures, and of course we're going to make the skin glow, you know, and make her pop even more. And of course we're going to retouch the skin. Let us put it into Photoshop. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to right click onto it just like this, and then I come and open with Photoshop. So let us wait for it to load. Since it is a camera raw image, it has opened up in the camera raw panel. Of course, it was shot in raw, and I'm leaving this particular image. I'm leaving a link of this image in the description below so that you guys can follow along if you want to edit alongside with me. So these are the things that I do in camera raw. Basically, camera raw, I usually only put the light right and do proper white balance and maybe changing the picture style. That is what I mostly do in camera raw. The rest of the work I do it in Photoshop. Let me just show you what I do in camera raw. Now what we are going to do, I'm just going to come here, first of all change the picture style. You know, if you've used any of these cameras that are on the market today, especially low-end cameras, they are not so good at rendering colors of dark skin. Either dark skin sometimes comes out so red, or it comes out looking very pale. So it is up to you to come here in the picture style and choose a picture style that would really give you something closer to the brown skin tones of colored people, because most cameras, especially the low-end cameras, are not so good at rendering African skin, in that you also have to set it in a different way. Anyway, I won't chit chat with that. I'll just do another video showing you how to set up a camera for dark skin people and brown skin. But let me go in this particular one. I'll just come here and say Adobe Landscape, and when you look at it, it becomes too red. Yeah, and this is not what we really want. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come again here into the basics, and then just trim down the red by going into the magenta panel and pulling down the reds a little bit, and of course pulling down a little bit of the yellows by moving towards the blue side, just a little bit, just like that. Then the other thing I'm going to do, of course, I'm just going to come and enhance the shadows just a little bit. When you look at the shadows, I still want some more details, not in a way that kills the dynamic range. When I say dynamic range, I mean the difference between how the bright parts and the amount of, okay, dynamic range in basic terms is this: the amount of detail that is in the shadow area and how much detail you see in the light area. When they say a camera has a very high dynamic range, they are telling you that when you compare, when you see the amount of detail it leaves in the shadows and the amount of details it leaves in the highlights, you know, if there are more details it leaves, it has a high dynamic range. So that is what dynamic range means when I'm talking about dynamic range in simple terms. So I'll just come and pump it up just a little bit. It is advisable you always shoot raw, especially if you're not sure that about your lighting on set and all that, because it helps you bring back certain details. Now I need to bring back also some details in these particular highlight areas, so I'll just come and pull the highlights down just a little bit so that this one looks like cotton. And the other thing I'll usually do, I'll also come here into the optics right here and remove what they call chromatic aberration, because I don't think if it's not a very professional lens, it usually brings on a purple lining around the edges. On this particular image we can't see it, but I'll just come and remove, where in case I don't see it, but I usually make it should I call it a habit? Is it a habit? Okay, whatever it is, but I make it a point to remove those particular highlights all around the edges. Then I'm going to just come here and say open. So it is going to open now in Photoshop, and we are going to roll into it. Now here is the image we are going to edit. So when you look at this particular image, first of all, we are going to do skin retouching. We are going to come and remove all these blemishes that you see all over the skin. Then we are going to edit, to whiten these eyes. You're going to create more presence in her eyes here as well. Then of course you're going to remove this nose hair, and we're going to also come and try to edit these knuckles and make them brighter. We are going to remove, you see these people that are peeping through the holes. And of course, I may have to remove these fingers as well, so that I just extend this all the way that side. And that is what we are going to do. So the only fingers I'm going to leave there, I'm going to only leave her fingers. So I'm just going to basically extend this sheet of paper towards the corner and towards that other corner. And we just leave her head only peeping here. Okay? Ready? Let's dive into this. Now, this is what we're going to do. We are going to first do a basic cleanup. Before you go into the frequency separation and do all that stuff that most people go doing, you first do the basic cleanup. So how are we going to do the basic cleanup? We just come here, create a new layer. Let me just first duplicate this just to leave us with the original piece. So we are going to be working on this. So we are going to come create a new layer just right on top there, and we're going to rename this blemishes. Okay, see, we just created it by clicking over this particular thing. If you don't see the layers panel here, you just come here into Windows and you click on 2 layers, so it will come and show up here if you don't see the layers panel. So you come, make it blemishes. So we are going to come and zoom in. So we want all these blemishes to get, to get on top, and so that we see them. So what are we going to do? We're just going to come get our spot healing tool, and then we just click over. So when you look at it, it is not really working. Do you know why it's not working? Because this is not ticked. So you just come here and say sample all layers, and then you just come and begin clicking over. So we are just doing this basic cleanup and removing all this stuff so that we don't have to overly retouch it in the final edit. Most people start right away by doing frequency separation before doing the basic cleanup, and the picture ends up looking like it was overly retouched. You don't want your image looking like a plastic doll. You still want to see her beauty, her contours and all the like, because if you don't do this panel beating at the very start, most of the times you end up having an image that is overly done, because frequency separation tends to flatten out an image. So it's usually advisable you do the basic panel beating here, like that. Right here. All this. So we are removing all this stuff here that will, because we don't want to do too much of post-production in the, we are saving ourselves time. So I just come and delete all these, remove all these things that would otherwise so we do all this basic panel basing. So we said we were going to remove this. So I come here with the clone stamp, this clone stamp right here. And then I right click, still on this same layer. So what I do, I come here and click, let me just create a new layer. And I'm just going to call this cleanup. Cleanup. And I'm just going to come here and say current layer and below here, so that the clone stamp is able to work, because I don't want, while I'm working on these other layers, I don't want to work on the actual pixels of an image. In case I want to go back, I can always go back, because if I had worked on the pixels of an image, if I make a mistake, I have to restart the whole process over and over again. So that is why I make sure I don't work on the actual pixels. I work on non-destructively, so that if I want to go back one step, I just delete that layer, create a new layer, and don't have to start all over again. So I'll just come with my clone stamp here, press Alt on your keyboard or Option, and then click to select, and then you just come and begin painting over. I still come here, do the same thing by painting all over like that. Alt click, and then I paint over like that. Still here, I remove all this. Alt. So this is the basic cleanup that most people miss, and they end up having pictures that are not really precise. At the end of the day, you want to have a super clean piece, Oops, that is too much. So I just come and clean over. Yeah, this and then that. So we've erased that. So I just want now us to remove this hand. So what do I do here? I just come here and still press Alt and click, and then just come and paint over. Click Alt, and then I paint over. Alt, click to select, then I come and paint over to cover. Click, Alt to select, and I paint over. Click. Now I'll come here, still click, Alt. So I just still come do the same thing, click, then Alt, and then come and paint over. So just like that. Actually, if we want, we can also come and paint over here, So I'll just still come and I don't want it to be so neat. I think I love the folds it has created here, because it creates that kind of inconsistency that the paper has all in general. So I'll still come back to the blemishes area and then come and still get my spot healing brush and then just click through like that. So basically we have done a very good cleanup, removed all these things that would make the post-production work very hard. So we've all simplified it down. Okay, now I think we are done with the basic cleanup. Let me just put this in a folder, in a group. I just click here on that one, press Shift key down, and then just drag them onto the file icon. I'll name this blemishes and cleanup. So let me just show you where we've come from. That's the before, that's the after, before and after. We've basically taken care of all those particular blemishes. So what next thing are we going to do? Now we are going to do skin retouching. So how are we going to do skin retouching? We are going to use a technique called frequency separation. What is frequency separation? Frequency separation is a skin editing technique that is used by high-end fashion magazines and all those big billboards, fashion projects that you see. They use frequency separation. Of course, there is a lot of wrong information out there on the internet teaching you how to use frequency separation in separate ways. I'm going to teach you the best way that I think there is of doing frequency separation, the best and the quickest way. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We're going to come. Okay, before I go there, frequency separation basically gives you an opportunity to work on the textures of an image on their own layer and the colors of an image on their own layer. Basically, look at it this way. You have got a song that has a song that was produced and it has all these instrumentals, and now you want to separate the instrumental from the vocals, whereby you want to edit the vocals alone and also have the instrumental on its own. Now, look at the song as a frequency, the vocals as a frequency, and the instrumental as a frequency. So this is what we are going to do. In a picture, the only two frequencies we have the texture or the tactile kind of frequencies. When I say texture, I mean these skin pores you see here, the hair strands, this roughness on the cotton, that tactile feel you see in an image. That is all texture. Then if I talk about color, I mean these pinks, these brown skin tones, this white cotton, all this nude lip, all these are colors, this yellow, these are colors. So we're going to have all the colors on their own layer and have the textures on their own layer. Got it? You're awesome. Anyhow, let us continue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a stamp of this particular image that we have already edited. So how do I do that? I click on the topmost layer and then press Ctrl or Command, Alt, Shift, and E. Okay? You press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E on your keyboard to create a stamp of this particular image. So what are we going to do now? Now we are going to duplicate this particular layer. Yeah. We come and just drag it here like that. So what are we going to do? We are going to name this texture, rather tones, or colors. These are colors, tones and colors, and these are going to be our textures. Okay. Right? Okay, are we following? So we are going to come and select the tonal layer. Yeah. Now, this is where most people get it wrong. I need your maximum attention. Hey. This is where I need your maximum attention. So you come and unsee the texture layer, remove the eye icon, then select the tonal layer. So what are we going to do? We are going to come in here into filter and say blur, Gaussian blur. Now, here, this is where most people go wrong. I don't want you to, once you get this whole step wrong, your whole picture is going to be a mess at the end of it. So I want your maximum attention. I don't know how much. Turn off the radio, chase the children away, tell them to go outside, tell your wife to bring the food later. First, give me concentration here. This is where most photographers, this is where most retouchers mess up the whole image, okay? Okay, now let's dive into this. Now, you just come here and then just come and blur out. But remember, every texture you're going to blur out in this particular stage is going to be brought back in the final image. So for every texture that you want to retain in the final image, you make sure you blur it out here. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but what we are doing right now, we are saying, hey, this particular thing, don't even bother touching it. Particular texture, don't even bother taking it away from an image. So we're going to blur this away like that. So I love all this texture to be in my final image. This one here, I want it to be in my final image because this is a beautiful, she has a beautiful skin, by the way, so beautiful. Then we're going to come and just blur all this texture away. You can actually gauge it from here and also gauge it from here. You know, I'll just zoom it out a little. I don't want it to, okay. Now I think I've started. This is still a little. Let me see. I think I loved this texture here, and it is, see, okay. I think now I've at least taken away all the texture I want to maintain. You know, you don't have to take it overboard. I don't want you to cram digits. I want you to look at, now you see it's in between rough and in between smooth. Basically it's in between there, okay? That is where you want to keep it. So don't cram digits. It depends actually on how big the image you're editing is. So you're going to come here and say okay. Okay, so we are going to come here. Now remember the texture you've blurred out in this particular layer. So you're going to come back and turn on this one by clicking the eye icon again. Here, click the texture layer, and then here come and say image. Yeah, apply image. Remember, we are going to subtract. We are subtracting texture from this layer, okay? So we are not multiplying it, we want to subtract it. So every texture we blurred out in this particular layer, we're going to make sure we subtract it again. So how do we subtract it from this tonal layer? So you come here into where you see layers here, and you say, hey, where is tonal layers? You look for tonal layers here. Here is the tone and color layer right there. So do we want to multiply? No, we want to subtract all our texture that we blurred out in this particular image. We want to subtract it and put it up on this layer. So how do we do that? You come here and choose subtract. Your image is supposed to look like this. If you've never done it, don't get scared. I know it looks black if you've not done frequency separation before. So what you're going to do, you're going to put 2 on scale and 128 in offset. Okay? Ready? You're done? Okay, now we are going to come here and say, okay, leave the rest as it is and say, okay. So the next thing you're going to do, you're going to come here and say linear light. Now, I'm going to put this in a group. I'm going to call this skin retouch. Now, I've put this in a group because I want you to see that there is no difference. Look at that. I removed the eye. When you look at this before and after, there is no difference. Do you know why? Because this, when you look at this, is the same, this and this are the same image as this one here. But the only difference between this image and this image is that this one has been broken into 2 different parts, where we have the texture on their own frequency and we have the colors on their own frequency. That is the only difference. But these are the same. This and this particular image are the same images. So that is the magic of frequency separation. Now we are going to work on the textures alone, and the colors alone, okay? Okay, let's go. Now, so what do we do first? We're going to first work, of course, on the textures and remove, I don't think I like these holes here, and that I think we would have cleaned them from the very, very start, but we shall also find a way of cleaning up them here. So we're going to create a top black and white layer to bring all the textures that we want to remove, you know, close. So what do? You click. Okay, I'll first delete it. That was fast. Just to go back for the people who have not done this. So let me check whether it's still recording. Oh, it's recording. So I'll come here and then say black and white like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come and crush the reds. That is what I do. So when you crush the reds here like that, you see how all these ugly textures come on top, the ones that we don't want, all these white heads. So this is just a help layer. We're not even going to keep it, but it helps us see the textures better. So what do? You come and click onto the texture layer, then you zoom in, get your spot healing tool, and then you say don't say sample all layers. You just come onto this layer and then you unclick the sample all layers and then come and just begin editing. You make sure the brush is hard, you know, so that okay, so we are removing all these white heads. This process really takes a little bit of time, especially if you want to deliver really high quality pictures. You may have some clients who are willing to pay anything for as long as you're giving them high-end stuff. Now, these are the kinds of clients who would need this kind of edit, that is where you give images time. This is one of the things, by the way, that has helped me grow my business, in that I only target the top 5% that pay top cash. You know, if you're not willing to part away with if you don't have a burning desire for the best, of course you're not my kind of client. And that is what I want for you guys. I want you, if you're still watching this video, I want you to also get into that thing of wanting to attract only the top 5% who pay the top cash, instead of targeting customers that are going to disturb you. Because if you're a photographer, I know you've realized it, that the cheapest clients make the loudest noise. So it's only good you avoid them at all costs. The only way you can do that is by adding value to yourself and start delivering top-notch stuff to high-end customers. Even if a high-end customer shouted, at least they're shouting, you know, with money. But these cheap customers, most of the times they pay you $100, then the abuses you get are worth $1 million. You don't want to be such customers. So that is why you should actually arm yourself with skills, you know. So this really takes time. So I just come and remove all these white heads, and as we are having a little conversation, a little chit chat here, you know, man, guys, I've not seen you for a long time. You know, when was the last time I posted a video? Oh, last week. Okay. Actually, most of you didn't even watch that video. By the way, you should watch that video that I posted last week. Oh, yesterday but one. Yeah, I think I posted a video yesterday but one. You should watch it. It's about depth of field, so that you don't fall victim of certain people. Most people think you're supposed to shoot all images in f2.8, f1.8, and they end up having images where the nose is blurry, and they're like, if you don't know where to use those particular settings on your camera, you should watch the previous video. Yeah, I'll leave a link to it just up there, okay, or in the description below, so that you don't miss. So basically, the texture layer is about removing all these pimples and the white heads, because the white heads tend to make an image look cheap, and we don't want our image to look cheap, you know. Especially if you're doing high-end customers, they deserve to get really the best, because if somebody can give you some good money for a piece, of course, why not give them the best, you know. Those are clients that really deserve getting the best of you, the ones that pay top cash. Yeah, so basically, let me just remove this and we have a look, the black and white layer. So there we go. I think if I had time, we would of course go through all that stuff and then edit, but I'm not going to. I don't want the video to be so long. In fact, I don't know whether it's still screen recording. Oh, it is. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come here and right in the tonal layer, select it, get my lasso tool, put the feather at 18, and we're going now to begin working on the skin tones. Yes, you guessed right. So you just come and select around here. And then you say filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then you come and okay, now we are going to come and begin blurring out until we see that the skin is getting even. But make sure you don't kill the contours, you don't kill the highlights. If you take it overboard, she's going to become flat. And this is what I see most people doing. They take it overboard and somebody turns out having a flat face. We still want to maintain these contours. We still want to maintain those particular shadows and the like. So I just come and, take it a little bit. I think that is good for me. I still have the highlights. I still have the contours. Yeah. So I come also here. I press Ctrl-Alt-F to repeat the action. If you're using old versions of Photoshop, you press Ctrl-F or Command-Option-F. If you're using a Mac, Ctrl to repeat the action. Still here. Okay. You make sure you don't select all the way to the edge. You may end up having blurry. Let me just show you what happens. And I see it in most people's pictures like that you see, and you end up getting such ugly edges. You don't want to have such ugly edges. No. You come and you select it just close by around there. And then you press Ctrl-Alt-F to repeat the action. Same applies here. There. Such a beautiful girl. So you still come right here. And then you press Ctrl-F. Now, when it comes to the nose, most people actually tend to flatten out the nose. But now this is too much for the nose. When you look at that, I've lost the particular depression in the nose, and I don't want. So I'm not going to do that over there. I'll leave it there. Then I'll just come here, Ctrl-Alt-F. Same applies here. Oh, sorry, I was selecting something. I had selected something here. Same applies here. Okay, we come. And when you're selecting, do you see how I'm just selecting the way the shapes, the way light is hitting them? Because I don't want to have a whole flat kind of face. I still want to maintain her dimensions and all that stuff. Right here. Still here. I come do the same thing here. Here as well. If we had time, I would even go through. For those of you who are going to enroll into my course, I show you even how to edit all these fingernails and into detail. But this is just actually to brief you through the basics, of course, taking you through the basic fundamentals and the like. Okay, so what am I going to do next? Now you see these dark knuckles. This is really, if you edit a lot of dark skin, you'll find a problem of having dark knuckles, yeah, whereby you find the face and some parts of the knuckles are dark. Yeah, we're just going to show you. Let's first clean up this, and we go through that. I mean, you don't want your person to have dark knuckles. So what are we going to do? You're just going to come right here. You see the tonal layer? You create a new layer right here, and we are going to make this. I'm going to name this even skin. Yeah. So what we do, this particular layer has to be in between the texture layer and the tonal layer. So what do? You get your brush tool, you reduce the opacity. Rather, you reduce the flow to around 3, and then you're just going to come, press Alt on your keyboard to select a color and come and paint over like that. Same applies here. You select a bright color and then you come and paint over the knuckle. I mean, it's that simple. You don't have to complicate this stuff like that. We just brighten the knuckles. Alt. So we come also here and do the same thing. We pick a color and then just brighten the knuckles. As simple as that. I think I'll do the same for the ears. Then I just pick a color and then just brighten up. I mean, let's look at the before and after. Before and after. Let me just zoom it in for you so that you guys get to see. Yeah, look at that. That's the before, that's the after. Before and after. We've now given her even skin tones actually on the fingers. And yeah, so what are we going to do next? Now, the next thing we are going to do, we're going to do some burning and dodging, okay? So what is burning and dodging? Now, burning and dodging is basically adding dimension into the whole image, like adding depth and dimension into the whole image, okay? So now, how do we do that? We are going to use, I have already made actions, but I'm going to take you through faster on how we do it. So I just come here and create curves adjustment layers and then just, you know, drag this down for the burn. So I'm just going to come and name this burn, and I'll press Ctrl I. Then I'm just going to come get another curves adjustment layer here, and then I'll just pump it for the highlights. And then here I would say, I'll name this Dodge, and I'll press Ctrl I on my keyboard to invert the action. So I'm just going to come with my brush tool and then make sure white is on top. I'll leave the opacity at 100 and the flow at 3. And then I'll just come and paint over with the burn tool selected, so that first I give the nose contour, so that I give the nose, make it a bit more emphasized. Then I'm just going to come and give her chiseled cheekbones just by over there, and then I do the same over here. I'll come and then paint all around the hair, the face, so that I bracket it in like that, so that I create that bit of dimension into the whole face. I'll come also burn through these peppers so that it is deeper. Also burn through these shadows. So I'll also come and burn over this particular, burn around, because she has an ombre lip. So I'll also come and burn over here. She has beautiful lips, yeah? Over here, I'll burn over the mascara. Over here. So let us see what we have. That's the before, that's the after. Before and after. So what are we going to do now? Now we're going to do the dodge. Now I'm going to show you the automatic way of dodging without us going into complicated stuff of dodging in a complicated way. So what do? You just come here on dodge, you press Ctrl I on your keyboard to bring it back. Then what you do, you just come here into select and then you say color range. Okay. So when you say color range, you come here right here and say highlights. We only want this effect on the highlights, just there. Okay. So now let me just show you what this means. Range means how much of the image do you want this effect to be. So we may say, I want it only on just a few parts like that. Yeah. Maybe that's where I want it. Then fuzziness, it's about saying that, hey, I want it to blend in like this. I want it to blend in this kind of way. So we just come and control the fuzziness of it because we want to blend it. We don't want it to be. So we play just all around here with fuzziness and, you know, and color range. When you look at this image, you see how she has already gotten even a glowing skin before we even do anything. That is really, you know, so I just come and I say, okay, I'll leave it there. So let me show you. That's the before and that's the after. Before and after. So we don't want this effect on all the parts ready. We don't want it in all the parts. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come get my brush tool right here. And then I'll just come and paint black in parts where I don't want it. I'll just increase the opacity and flow. So I didn't want it in this particular part. So I'll just come and paint black in this particular part so that I hide the effect from there. But I also don't want it in these sections of the hair. I don't want it also this way. I only want it on her skin so that she gets that beautiful glow. And of course the glow is still too much for my test. Here, I'm just going to show you. So I come and remove all the way from this particular thing. So what do I do? Look at this. That's the before, that's the after. So I'm just going to come and just reduce the opacity and see before and after, before and after. That is how you automatically dodge an image. Now, and the next thing, I'll just put this in a group. That's the before, that's the after. See how we've given the whole picture dimension, depth, we've given her more a chiseled cheekbone. The next thing we are going to do, we are going to whiten her eyes. Okay, so how do we whiten her eyes? You come here and say hue saturation. So what we are going to do, you pump down the saturation and then change the hue to this a purplish kind of color around there, and we add in the more brightness. So what we're going to do, you press Ctrl-I on the keyboard like that, and then you zoom that in and then come and you paint white over here with your layer mask selected. Get your brush right here and then paint white over here. Oh, by the way, if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, come on, take a minute, subscribe to the channel and show me some love. Come on. Click that subscribe button. It's just down there. Okay? You're done? Come on, do it. Anyway, thank you so much. You're awesome if you've just subscribed. Okay, that, and then we also come and clean this up like that. Oh, if you want to clean up, you make sure it's black that is on top. Now, truth be told, this is too white for me. It's too white for my taste, and I love the way this color was reflecting into the whole piece, you know. And it's not good to overly whiten. I see even guys on Instagram that have pictures with very much white in the eye. So I'll just come and kill the opacity just a little bit so that I make them white normally, the normal white. So the next thing I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to do definitely a bit of color grading, non-color correction as such, because DreamWorks really did some nice work here with the shooting. I love the colors already. So what we're going to do, you're just going to come here and say selective color. Selective color, basically I just work on the skin tones by clicking the red. The red is for the skin, so if the reds are too much, I can just pump off the cyan to bring the reds down. But in my case, I think I don't like that such pale skin, so I usually keep the cyan. They just actually keep it around that area. I don't put in so much cyan. Then I add in a bit of magenta. Excuse me. Not so much, don't take it to 13, that is too much. Then just like that. Then the yellows, depending really on the skin tone and what I'm editing. But if you want it cool, you can take it towards the blues. Now this is, I've seen one of my favorite editorial photographer, the Kenyan photographer, Osborne Macharia. I see a lot of this effect in his pictures where he has those colored lighting, the way he uses gels and the like. Of course, that's not the effect I'm going for, but then I'll just bring in a little bit of more warmth in the skin tones just to give it that, you know, glowing effect. And then for the blacks, I don't usually touch. So the next thing I'm going to touch is usually in the whites. Yeah, how do whites look? So if the whites are too yellow or too dirty, I usually come and only touch the yellow and maybe just bring them towards the blue side so that I cut down the yellow. But you see how it affects the warmth in the skin, so I don't usually take it overboard as well. Then we have a little bit of cyans around there, a little bit, because we are handling white. And then yeah, that's how I do that. Let me show you the before and after. That's the before and that's the after. The difference is very minor but yet very effective. Now the next thing we are going to do here, we are going to do what we call, let me first rename this. This is for the eyes, okay? Now, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to now create what they call like the mood of the whole image. How do we do that? I use what they call gradient map. So you come into gradient map. Now, this side represents the shadows and this side represents the highlights. So I just come and click here. So if I want if I want the shadows, I just come to here and then say, usually I love my shadows being in this zone, like this cyanish kind of zone. Now this is a question of taste actually. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but this is a question of taste because this is relative to different people. Certain people would say, for me, I want natural colors. What they call natural, I think that's what the way most photographers that I've shot in Africa, in most documentaries, depict our skin. They depict it as pale, in my opinion. I find the way certain European photographers depict our skin, they depict it as a pale skin, yet it is brown, in my opinion. So I just come here and say, okay. So I come here also in this, and then I look for a milky kind of pink. It's around this particular area like that, and then say okay. So I usually have this and that. When you look at these two colors, they are totally opposites of one another, so that I get that kind of orange teal, not orange and teal, but at least I have highlights on the opposite direction and shadows coming from the opposite direction, and create that kind of contrast that is so beautiful. So you come here and say okay. So the next thing you're going to do, you come and reduce the opacity just here. You know, I don't take it up to beyond 15 really, depending. So look at this. That's the before and that's the after. So then when you look at it, it leaves a certain kind of haze. So how do I undo that haze? I just come here with it selected and I say color, so that it brings back the contrast and the like. So the next thing I'm going to do is one of my favorite, and those are curves. So I just come here into adjustment layer, I say curves, and then I come onto the shadow area down here, and I click, and then I pull the shadows a bit down, not so much, just a little bit down. Then I come onto the highlights here, and then I pull them up just a little bit to give the image pop. So the next thing I come here into the blue channel right here, and then I add in a little bit of warmth in the skin, like not so much, don't take it overboard, a little bit of warmth like that. Yes, and then I come onto the highlight knob and bring back the blues just a little bit like that. So I still come here, I find it a bit dark. Yeah, so I'll just come and just bring back the shadows just a little bit in the RGB channel like that. So I close this. So let me put this in a group like that. So look at this. That's the before and that's the after. Before and after. When you look, it had that green color cast or that pink color cast from the Manila, you know, but here we've removed that color cast by using curves. Now it's like the pink Manila is part of the whole picture, but here the color cast was overshadowing the whole piece. So let me put all these, I'll call this color correction. So let me put all of these in a group now, yeah, so that you see what I'm talking about, all the things that we've worked on. I'll put all these in the group. Let me name this edit. Now let's look at where we've come from. That's the before and that is the after. Before and after. Before and after. Isn't that amazing, guys? Now, how do we save this particular image and remove it from Photoshop safely? So you just come here, right here. What I'm going to do, I'm first going to flatten it, yeah, by pressing Control, Shift, and E to flatten the whole thing. Then I'm going to delete this black and white layer. And then I'm going to come here into File. I'll say Save As, and I'll rename it Edit, and I'll save. It's that simple, really. Yeah, so I'm waiting for it to load. I can either choose to save it as 17 MP in its maximum, but this is how I usually save my images. I save them in their maximum resolution, and because if you try to shrink and put it in medium and try to load it on social media or Facebook will also trim down its resolution too. So because social media goes on trimming resolution, I usually leave them in their maximum and upload them the way they are, so that when they trim resolution of that particular image, it still maintains that high quality. If you've been onto my Instagram page, by the way, you should follow me on Instagram. That's why you see most of the pictures that are there are crisp. If you've also been onto my Facebook page, I have like big high resolution pictures, because I make sure I save this to the maximum resolution. Being a photographer, I don't want resolutions of my photos really trimmed down, because Facebook will always trim them down. Instagram will always trim them down. The only platform I know that does not trim resolution that much is Twitter. Twitter somehow tries to maintain the resolutions of images. That's where you can even find high resolution images of celebrities and the like. Yeah, so you make sure this is in maximum, and then you say, okay. That is how you save an image. And that is that for today. I hope you've enjoyed this particular video. I hope to see you in my next tutorial. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, come on, go ahead, subscribe and leave me comments. It helps the channel grow. It helps YouTube rank this video so that more of your friends see it. It helps me. It enables me actually make you more of such free tutorials. I'll be super grateful if you left a comment. Even if you've appreciated, you can just say, I appreciate, man, anything. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next tutorial, and adios.